Hi, my name is Greg. I've been asked to make some bread again for Christmas, and I'm going to show you how to do that. A pretty easy recipe, a lot of fun to do, and very, very tasty. So, come join me. The ingredients list is pretty simple. All you need is some flour. I prefer using bread flour because it has more gluten in there. It's a lot better bread. 1 egg, some kosher salt, cornmeal, honey. I prefer using the quick rise yeast over the active yeast, just because of the fact that it rises faster, it's a lot more active yeast, and then just some butter. The equipment that I use is a KitchenAid blender with a dough hook on it, which is right here, one small bowl for the yeast and water,
a digital thermometer,
a scale to weigh the flour, and then just another bowl for the flour. Weighing the flour is a better idea just because of the fact that when you mix flour or you scoop flour, sometimes you compact it and it weighs more and you don't get the same amount of flour every time. So it's actually better to weigh the flour. Items you'll need is a measuring cup, some measuring spoons, and a flat pan, glass pan is I prefer just to hold the water. I'll show you how to use that later. Okay, we'll start off by getting the yeast ready to go. So we'll put some warm water in a bowl, that's about a cup, and check your thermometer and make sure your temperature is below 110 degrees. If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast and the yeast won't start growing again. With this, I'll add about a tablespoon of honey. That just gets some sugar for the yeast to start feeding off of. That's all you need. And you mix it all up. And you see we're at about 97 degrees, which is good. The warmer the better, but if you get it too hot, it will kill the yeast off. Now the other thing to remember too, when it comes to using yeast, is that there's expiration dates on the back of each package. This one's July 2010, September 2010. These dates are important. If the current date is older than the date on the package, don't use the yeast because it's not going to probably work for you. The bread won't rise. Pour a little yeast in the bowl. Mix it in, stir it in gently, and leave it set for about 5 minutes. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is get the flour ready to go. So we have our mixing bowl and our scale, and the scale's been zeroed out. And what you want to use is 40 ounces of flour, which is 2 pounds, 8 ounces. So you just start pouring the flour in, and watch your scale. 1 pound, I've forgotten the conversion, it's 16 ounces to a pound. And I got 2 pound, 1 ounce, 6, 7, 2 pounds, 8 ounces. It's been about 5 minutes now, and you can see how much the yeast is actually starting to rise. It's going to get foamy. That's because it's live and growing, and that's something that we definitely need for the bread. At this point in time, we can take this yeast now and pour it into the, and I'm going to scrape all the remaining yeast out of the bowl. Just like that. Add a tablespoon of salt. And add all but 2 more cups of flour. I'm going to leave out a little bit in reserve, just in case the dough doesn't come together quite right. You can always adjust it later. And then again, turn the mixer on, slow. Otherwise you'll have a big mess in your hands so it poofs out. It starts getting incorporated. It'll be about 10 minutes or so for this process. It looks a little dry. Add another up to half cup of water. Once you start mixing, you'll see that the dough ball starts to form and it starts coming all together. We're almost there for the first step to be done. Now we have the dough ball formed, and as you can see in the pan, in the bowl here, it's nice and everything's all come together just fine. Okay, when the dough ball is formed, now you want to wait for 10 minutes, and just cover it up with a cloth, and let it rest for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, now you can start the kneading process. And one way to check your dough to see if it's ready yet or not is called windowing. And what you want to do is you want to grab a piece of dough and start pulling it apart. And you can see this dough is still pretty grainy and it doesn't really stretch really well. And it pulls apart So it's definitely not ready to go yet. So now we'll start the kneading process. So put the dough back in the mixer and we'll start kneading it for like 20 minutes. If you prefer not to use a mixer and get some exercise, you can do the same thing in kneading it by hand. Just get your little bit of flour, and what you want to do is just, you don't need a whole lot, just enough so it doesn't stick, and start turning in and out. And you can do this for about 20 minutes also. Just turn it in and out on itself. And again, to check it, you can do the winnowing process, and I'll show you that again as we progress. I'm going to keep kneading the dough. And I kind of just like tearing it as I go. I'm going to stretch it out and get those nice gluten molecules and nice and stretchy to make the bread rise a whole lot better. You also can feel the consistency of the dough this way too, because you want it to get nice and stretchy before it tears. The dough should not feel gummy. It should feel a little damp, a little sticky, but not where it's getting on your hands and making a big glue mess all over the place. And about halfway through, you might want to pull another sample and do the window test. Basically, what you want to do is pull a piece of dough out and start to stretch it. And see, it's a whole lot better now. It's getting stronger. Still wants to tear though. It doesn't want to be nice and transparent. So we're not quite there yet as far as the kneading process goes. So we'll keep on going. Then just want to pull a piece of dough off and do the winnowing like we did before. You can see here, as we start to knead, the dough gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And we start pulling it apart and it doesn't tear. It gets pretty translucent. And when it gets that consistency, you know your bread's not ready for the next step. Divide the dough in half. And get a little bit of butter in a pitcher. And you want to coat the inside of the pitcher with a little bit of butter. This allows the nice even coating. Coat the dough so it doesn't dry out. Very important, otherwise it won't rise properly. And you coat the whole pitcher inside and out, or inside, up and down. Make sure you get the bottom. Once you get it all coated, what you want to do is you want to put one of your bread loaves in the pitcher. Push it down, put a little bit of butter on top, and I have another pitcher already prepared. And you take your other loaf of dough and you put it in that pitcher, do the same thing, and again coat the top of the dough a little bit with a little bit of butter. Again, this keeps it from drying out. And then I'm going to take the pitchers and get them ready to put them in the oven. What I do here is just, as indicated, this shows the level of dough that it was before we started. You want them to double in size. That's just a reminder of where they were. So put a pitcher in here and one in here. And then you notice I have a pan in the center of the oven, and that's just for water. There's no heat on the oven, just the light. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a nice humid environment for the yeast to rise in. And you just put the oven for about 60 minutes and check it in about an hour.